a Canadian airport, Canadian air traffic control, and they blaming Trump.
And I just want to call back to what Pete Buttigieg tweeted. He said, "We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew traffic control, and had zero commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch."
There's incompetence and chaos going on, and we should not put up with it.
Well,
and by the way, egg prices are supposed to come down, not airplanes.
Well,
Gentlemen and ladies, welcome back to another Officer Tatum show. I know I say my intro different almost every single time, but hey, I'm human, all right? Let's talk about the Delta Airlines flight. As we have seen on the news, the mainstream media, who is probably the most disingenuous group of production individuals that I've ever seen in my life, are all trying to blame Donald Trump for this. Why, like, can y'all let off the gas for 30 minutes? What does Donald Trump have to do with a plane making an approach in inclement weather, and it looks like the approach was a little too aggressive, and so they hit the ground like this instead of coasting through? And it probably had everything to do with weather. That has nothing to do with aviation, or at least as far as the aviation employees for the federal government. They have nothing to do with the flight attendants. It has nothing to do with nobody. It's literally inclement weather and a pilot trying to navigate that inclement weather and slamming into the runway, causing the plane to go up in flames. So if you don't know, nobody died. Thank God. There was a few injuries. I think about 18 people were injured. Everybody's expected to make a full recovery. But if you haven't seen this video that was just released, I'm going to show it to you. This is the actual footage of the plane making its approach into landing. The landing seemed to be a little too aggressive, destroyed the landing gear, hit the jet engine on the runway, caused a flame, it flipped over, and everybody lived. That's a blessing. The Lord was on their side. You know, for the first time, I feel like that we can all be on the same page when it comes to this Delta flight, flipping over and landing in Toronto. For the first time, I've seen both the left and the right actually report on this without too much interjection of biases. As you can see from the left, they're just reporting a crash. No fatalities. They're reporting some of what the verbiage was with the audio that somebody had found. Holy F. The video shows recovery of passengers from the Toronto plane accident. Just facts. And that's one thing about the news media, is that when you see and have an opportunity to watch it unfold in front of you with the articles being presented, you can see that there's no bias. There's no need for bias. And you know there's no bias being reported because you can see both sides of it. And this is why I like Ground.News, because they report, or at least give you the information that you need to know so you have a balanced perspective. With almost 700 articles, they're getting almost 700 articles on here, so you have every bit of information that you could ever need about this particular topic, and it seems to be balanced. Left, right, and center are primarily covering this topic, and they're covering it fairly. One of the only times I'm probably going to be able to say this. However, not everything is on your radar. So make sure you go to the blind spot on the Ground.News website to see which things are you not getting because you only listen to one side. Whether you listen to Fox or listen to MSDNC, you only get one side. Let me just give you an example. Doe's claimed $55 billion in total savings from cost-cutting spree as it launches data portal for public. The left didn't report on this whatsoever. So when your family start talking crazy, they not going to know that $55 billion have been saved. And then you go on here, on the other side, the right rarely is reported on this. It says, as Israel uses U.S.-made AI models in war, concerns arise about tech's role and who lives or who dies. So this is something that the left is reporting, the right is not reporting. But I'm just giving you a quick synopsis on these things. So go and look at the blind spot and check it out and see what things you're being blind spotted on. And make sure that you subscribe through my link at ground.news/Tatum or download the mobile app and use offer code Tatum for 40% off the Vantage plan, which is the same plan that I use for unlimited access. Roll the clip.
Oh! Oh! Oh, no, 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 no. Tower, you're seeing this airplane just crash into Greek. Oh my God.
So run it back.
Oh my God. Well, hold here. Come on.
I want y'all to see the approach it hit the ground fast. Boom. The plane not supposed to do that.
Oh, no.
All right, let's get to the nitty gritty. Now, the plane is not supposed to do that. They have nothing to do with Donald Trump's cuts to FAA employees. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. Let me give you a stat and then I'm going to play the news so you can hear how ridiculous they are. But out of the 40,000+ people that are employed in the government, let me get the numbers here. Fewer than 400 workers were dismissed from the FAA 45,000 workforce. So fewer than 400 workers were eliminated from their 45,000 person workforce. That's less than 1% of the workers at the FAA were let go. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy claimed that only probationary staff hired within the past year were affected. That means senior staff, that means people who were trained, people with experience, people who have done the job. They were not subject to being fired. So with that in context, less than 1% of employees, all of them were probationary. Why, oh why, is the news media having a cow? Well, let's pull up MSDNC and let's see what MSDNC have to say about it. Roll it.
On the conversation you were just having, though,
in
terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom, this is going to yet again raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staffing. Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border. And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce. And yet, as you also know, the FAA has been complaining for years that they are understaffed in critical job positions, especially air traffic control. I was having a conversation with somebody today about whether air traffic control in America is being affected by the staff cuts. So far, not to their knowledge, and yet other positions related to maintaining critical equipment appear to have been cut. So this is going to feed into all of these recent incidents, and the safety of the total air traffic system is going to be very much a part of the conversation as we go forward, at least on this side of the country, of the border, I should say.
This has nothing to do with air traffic control, I would argue. Unless people want to say that they told the plane or advised the plane to land in inclement weather and the plane should have never done so. The captain understands what situation he or she is in. The captain can see that they're descending too fast, and the captain can do a go around. They say this landing is not going right. Descending a little too fast for the altitude or whatever, or the speed that we're traveling. We're coming in too hot. Normally, the tower will tell them, look, you got to decrease your speed. You're coming in too fast. All these other things. However, the captain can see. They know they're flying the plane. They can see the instruments. They can see how far they're going down. That plane was going straight down. It went boom. It didn't coast in. It went straight down. That has nothing to do with air traffic control, especially not in America. If you listen to what he said, this is in Canadian airspace. So now the Canadian air traffic control is responsible. A Canadian airport, Canadian air traffic control. And they blaming Trump. When one of the most catastrophic accidents happened with the staff before Trump even got in. He made cuts after the military plane in the American airline regional jet crashed. He made cuts after that. Well, so what's y'all excuse? This was in Canada. Let's play the VER, because we know the VER always got something to say. Roll it.
There's all kinds of stuff going on. So let's start with the string of mass firings by Elon Musk's Doge, has sparked a lot of chaos, confusion, and fear because Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is defending the firing of 400 FAA workers. But former Secretary Pete Buttigieg slammed the firings of employees who control communications, radio, computer systems, all given all the confusion. So is this really the time to be laying off folks? And who is exactly getting laid off?
Well, they're seeming to be laying off probationary workers. When you work for the Department of Justice or work for the government, sometimes you have a 2-year probationary period. Sometimes you have a 1 year or 3 year. So these are people that are in their probationary periods and they're not protected yet. And so they're just kind of getting rid of them willy-nilly. The other thing that they're doing is the union spokesperson said that the people that have been affected are maintenance mechanics, aeronautical information specialists, environmental protection specialists, aviation safety assistants, and management and program assistants. And I just want to call back to what Pete Buttigieg tweeted. He said, we put safety first, drove down close calls, grew traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our.
Time out. You lying. I want to call you the F word. I want to call you the F word that rhyme with jagged, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it today. Not today. I'm a Christian. I'm not going to do it today. But you a sorry son of a gun for saying this. We had no plane crash under our watch. With the people that y'all hired, there was one of the most catastrophic plane crashes that just happened. That's under your watch. That Trump been in office for a week or two. Your people, your management of FAA, your management, that's when it happened. Trump comes in and makes cuts, and in the Canadian airspace run by Canadian FAA, or whatever you want to call it. It wouldn't be FAA, I don't think. But Canadian air traffic control at a Canadian airport. And you have the nerve to try to bring up a crash that wasn't even on American soil, that had nothing to do with American people, except for the pilot potentially. You want to blame that on Trump. It's crazy to me how disingenuous these people are. You notice that she said, we got the stats right here. This ain't hard to find. We got the stats right here. Fewer than 400 workers. They have 45,000 people on staff. Why did she mention 400 but didn't mention 45,000 people that work for FAA? That's less than 1% of the people working in that particular, I want to say organization, but that particular branch of the federal government. Less than 1%. You got to be completely stupid to think that somehow Trump and Doge is getting rid of people that maintain the planes and all that. Like, you're stupid. They just said probationary people. Anybody with a ball of common sense knows that when you're on probation, because you haven't proven yourself yet to be worthy of hiring full time and being protected. So you only been on for, our probation was 18 months. You only been on for a year and a half. You maybe on for 2 years. You ain't got no experience. So how are you that much of an intricate part of FAA with 45,000 people and it's only 400? And it's probably one person that's in maintenance. And they probably got another 5,000 people in that same industry. It just makes me so mad. They probably got 5,000 employees in each of the areas that they're claiming that they fire people in. They got 5,000. And they probably fired like 5 people from each one. Maybe 10. Just say 20 people from each one. With 5,000 other people capable with experience. And they trying to sell you a lie. Is that the end of that clip? Keep rolling it. Keep rolling it.
Watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped to keep our skies safe.
So I do think it's a valid point, but I want to be very clear. There is no evidence that the D.C. tragic plane crash had anything to do with these firings. And then this most recent one in Toronto, it was because of landing on a Canadian airway, and it was related to the landing. It was not, there is yet at this time no evidence it's related to the layoffs. That said, it's a perfectly valid point to say that you need to know who you're getting rid of in government.
Hopefully there'll be an investigation.
And there is by the NTSB right now, I strongly believe in streamlining government. I think most people think it doesn't necessarily work, it isn't as responsive to people as it should be. But my criticism remains, tell us why you're cutting it. Tell us. And Sarah's highlighted this.
Isn't it money?
Finally, the Doge website does have some information about what they have cut. They've said they've saved $50 billion. But tell us why we don't need that programs, how it's not going to impact our goods and services, and we don't have that.
They already told you, hold on, shut these women up. They already told you, dummy, it's for government efficiency. They're getting rid of wasteful spending. They don't need to tell you every single person that the overarching reason for layoffs is government waste. Clearly, if they laying people off, these are individuals who are bloating government spending for no reason. You can't sit up here and say they need to tell us why. They told you why when they started Doge. We are coming in and making sure the government is efficient. We're getting rid of wasteful spending. So if you lose your JOB, that's because your JOB isn't necessary and is bloating government spending. That means that the FAA can function with 99% of its staff still intact and leaving out 1%, less than 1%. It's common sense, but y'all want to make it more than what it is. It is very clear. It's government cuts on expenses that are unnecessary. Where are these women getting their brain cells from? Roll the clip.
At the FAA. Okay, sounds like a big number. With no context, who are these people and how, what are their jobs?
Some of them are
400
aviation safety
wait one second. 400 people were laid off, and you're like, okay, 400. But what were their jobs? They're saying they're in these temporary status jobs, but it doesn't say who they were replacing or why they started wasn't critical. Yeah. My biggest problem is the transportation and the the transparency and the methodology in this, because right now we all wanted the fat cut. Great, everyone's on board with that. Not in 2 weeks, because when you're going to cut the fat in an organization, you go in, you learn everything, and then you see where the inadequacies are. And that's the issue. Probationary status.
I feel like we're living in some kind of chaos right now. I mean, they also fired, how many of them? 300 employees who are guarding the nuclear arsenal. That was a mistake. And then they tried to hire them back, and they still haven't gotten 25 people back yet.
Because they can't find them because they don't have their emails
because
anymore.
There's incompetence and chaos going on, and we should not put up with it.
Well,
and by the way, egg prices are supposed to come down, not airplanes.
Well, let me say someplace that could really use a lot of cutting. Elon has very many, what do you call it?
Government contracts?
Government contracts.
Yeah.
I think, because I don't remember, maybe y'all heard it, but I don't remember looking for an armored car.
And
I don't remember.
I can't do it no more. I think this is it. I can't handle these women. They so stupid. It's crazy to me. I just wish people can get sued for being stupid. They getting on here still acting like this aviation accident, which nobody died in, had anything to do with Trump. Literally controlled by air traffic control in Canada in a Canadian airport. Like, how much more? We had nothing to do with that. We have no communication with the flight that's in Canadian airspace. Their air traffic control took over that space. Their airport is unsafe to land in. Whoever communicated that and didn't display that, or the pilot made a mistake, that has nothing to do with the FAA or Donald Trump. But they still pushing it. They should be ashamed of themselves. I hope that one day they meet their maker or their father, who's the devil. I hope they meet him one day and they have a conversation about it.